What's up, everyone? Welcome to Chicks and Salsa. It's been a little while since we saw you guys, so
Yeah.
very glad to see Carrie. I'm sure there's plenty of people that definitely want to know a safety update, but she's here, she's good, and we will get to that in a little bit. How was your Super Bowl celebration?
Oh my gosh. Listen, there is something about being around people that have the same fandom.
Right,
Um, I don't being we there I'm around fans around here, don't get me wrong. But we rolled into Kansas City and everywhere you went or where there was how about those Chiefs? So it was a lot of fun. It was neat. Um, Got to see inside Union Station last night. Have some pictures that I've shared on Three Chicks in a Pod Facebook page and my page.
right.
I have some stuff from the parade that I will share and post later. It was a lot of fun. Tech Nine, who is the
Right.
local, he's from QC. He's been a fan since he was 5. He got to do
Right.
the concert, and I mean, he just hypes a crowd. That his songs hype, and
Right.
so that was fun. We got to see all of the people. We got down there later, and I stayed back out of the crowds because there's only so much I can put myself into as a crowd situation. When we started getting to the parade route was over, and people started flooding the area with from the parade route. I made that the time that we decided to leave because I had about enough people of that magnitude. There was estimated 1.5 million people to be there today.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, because it was a nice day. It was 60 degrees.
Okay,
So
yeah. Okay.
it was a beautiful day. Uh, and so the whole thing was, I'm like, okay, I've had enough. Let's get it start because we wanted to come home, right?
Right, yeah.
Um, and we were if you've never been to Kansas City, or you've never been down to Union Station, it's in a valley. So we were 15, 20 minutes of walking uphill and away from where it is, where it was being taken place when we started hearing sirens. And then we heard sirens and it was hectic and you know, it was hectic in the fact that you kept hearing sirens. It wasn't like a normal big city you hear sirens. It was intense, nonstop, and it was close. And we were trying to figure out what was going on. I got to my car and Miss Jen had texted me, Are you okay?"
What a
Right.
fucking party.
And
Hey,
I'm like, "Yeah, we're okay. We just got to the car. We're heading out of Kansas City." And it wasn't 30 minutes. It was 30 minutes later before I got back to my phone and found out that it had kind of erupted in chaos. So
right.
just going to put out there that my heart is broken. That this was how someone wanted to celebrate
Yeah.
today. So that breaks my heart. It hurts my heart to know that there are people injured, and I
Yeah.
think someone has passed. I don't know, but
That
that's just
what
really
I
sad.
saw
22.
was there were 22 injured and one passed away. So I don't know if those numbers have changed, but that's what I saw recently.
I'm just really glad that um, social anxiety is not fun, but
Right.
it saved us today.
Right. Right. I understand that.
So first time in a very long time that I've been thankful that I can't handle crowds. So
This is something that we saw the week going up, leading up to the Super Bowl. They talked about security and all the measures that they took. I wonder on the other side of things, like what the Chiefs did as far as their security. And I mean, what can you really do? Like, were there checkpoints? Were they checking anybody or anything?
no, but interesting enough, because I'm this person that when I try to entertain, I'm going to be an observer of everything that's around me, just because that's one, how you can entertain your brain, and two, just it gives you an idea of what's going on. And
For sure.
I have to know where I can go type things to be able to do big crowds at times. So
Right.
that being said, we're talking, it's neat. You get to strike up conversations with random people, and you have a common thing already because you're there because of the Chiefs, right? So you have a random ability to talking, and we were talking to one guy. He had binoculars, and I'm like, what is the guy on top of the building over there? There was 2 snipers on top of the building.
Oh, wow.
And then I looked over. So that was where Blue Cross, I mean, not that there's Blue Cross Blue Shield headquarters down there. So that was on top of the Blue Cross. And then we saw on top of Union Station, another guy with a tripod. And we couldn't decide if it was him flying a drone, because drones are being to video, or if he was security. So, I mean, it was really or just taking pictures. It was kind of hard to determine that, but I couldn't see behind me. So I knew all in all that there was a very heightened level of security, because when we saw the sniper tripod on top of, so you knew that it was there. And then I was like, man, that would be really weird if that has to be something they have, they planned for. So the fact that I had that thought in my head at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then this happened, it was kind of a surreal linkage of thoughts. But
well, let's slide over if you're done. Let's slide over to the game and the actual winning of the game.
I was happy for Glenda. Thank you for calling too. I've been truly humbled by the amount of people that have reached out, and I will answer everyone. The game, wow, what a game was it? This type of game is what made me love this game many, many, many years ago, because I feel like it was a defensive chess match from start to finish.
Right.
Last year we had the high flying offenses, and everybody enjoyed that. This year, if you didn't, if you're a high flyer, you like the high flying scoring, this isn't your type of game. But if you like the grudge match, the defense, the grinding it out, this was a game of all games. It was intense. It was captivating. And I think it comes down to clock management and letting Patrick have too much time. Because he had made, if you give Patrick a minute, he's going to make that minute count.
Absolutely. Absolutely true.
So
now I know for me, when I really knew it was over was going into overtime. It's just the Niners had no gas. They had nothing left in all of that in overtime whatsoever. So now, of course, there's been a ton of jokes about Shanahan not knowing the rules of overtime. They did change this year, y'all. So there were some things that changed. It is a funny joke, not to say like, we can't take a joke, but things did change.
Yeah. This is also the first time that it was been used since it changed after the 13-second game with the Bills. So that being said, it was new. Our players in interviews said that they had, the minute that they made it to the playoffs, there was a weekly meeting specifically over overtime, the new rules, and how the Chiefs would handle that every time before every game. This last week, they had 2 team meetings about it. So they were drilled on, Andy drilled what we're doing, how we're having it. And the Chiefs wanted it second.
Right. Oh, okay.
Andy said that's Andy and Patrick both commented that it turned out how they wanted it anyway, and like the possession, because that gave them 4 downs every time, gave them an extra down to get down the field. So yeah, it was, and you also, they highlighted the fact that it was having that going second allows you to do a 2-point conversion if that's what you have to do to win the game.
Right.
You don't know that going in, but if you're the first, you don't know how that would, but if you're down there to score a touchdown, you have to have a 2-point conversion. So that they had already made that decision. That was what the Chiefs analytics and all that. So it's interesting to hear how that came out. It was interesting to see how it played out. And I thought Carl Sheffers did a fantastic job when he was telling them to explain what was going to happen when they were out there tossing the coin. And, for those of us watching, there was no doubt what was going to happen. We knew that both teams are going to get, it was very simplified, very direct, very informative. So it's sad that if it's true, it's sad that the 49ers were not as prepared there. But overall, the game was incredibly fun for me to watch because it was the chess match that reminds me of games of decades gone by.
Right, with such strong defenses, excuse me, like
Right.
that first quarter. And I kind of knew that. I had a score picked out on 806 of 24-21 in favor of Kansas City. So, I thought it was going to be an incredibly close game. 25-22 are some very odd numbers. So it's strange that it worked out that way, but still got the point differential there, and that it was under 30 for each team. So that was my expectations of it. And it basically, it lived up to all those expectations. It was a great game. Patrick looked lost that first half. I saw your post, future ex-husband.
Yeah.
I love it because everyone talks about, oh, that's your husband. No. I love the team. I love the team. That is my future ex-husband.
Yes, very much so. And a lot has been said about that as well.
Mm-hmm. It happens. And the way they obviously made the adjustments, like you have teams that you come out against and you're like, hey, our game plan isn't working. Cowboys, why did you not adjust?
Right. For real. I had said it was going to be a 3-point game and it was going to come down to the last possession. And what happened? It was a 3-point game. It came down to the last possession. Chiefs had it. That's really what I thought it would be. It was like, it's going to be a minor difference in score, and it's going to be whoever had the ball last was going to be the one. And we were fortunate. So,
okay.
And then to hear that the guys were like, even on the podium that night saying, okay, we're going to celebrate now, but then after Wednesday, we're going back for a 3-peat. So like they're already saying, okay, yeah, we got it, but that's not enough. So right, the hunger is there.
Andy say that he's coming back next year. He's not interested in retiring just yet. Candy, welcome to the show. It's been a little bit. What did you think about the Super Bowl? What were your thoughts?
I was actually surprised at how many mistakes both sides had. And it was both sides. Anytime a down lineman who's guarding and he hits the football with his leg and doesn't realize and has to quick jump on that ball and gives Kansas City the ball. And there were interceptions, there were drops, I was just surprised because I said going in, the team that makes the fewest mistakes, because when you get to that caliber, when you're playing on that stage, your nerves are up there for both teams, and the team that makes the fewest mistakes at that point, because let's face it, you got to be one of the best defenses to be there.
Oh, yeah.
And the offenses have to be firing because you got that far. So obviously at points in your season, you're doing really well. So and I just think, and I don't believe the whole overtime, we didn't know the rules. The fact of the matter is, honestly, Kansas City had the ball at the end. Their defense was tired, and I thought that was a good strategy for them because they needed to sit their defense down and recollect, get their breath, let their offense go down. And let's face it, when you're in offense, your objective is to score a touchdown. So no matter what the second, what Kansas City would have done after you had to score a touchdown, and you didn't get it done. Why they went away from Christian McCaffrey running as often as they did, especially that third quarter, like I just didn't get some of that game plan. And so now you go and you fire your defensive coordinator. You fired Wilkes. but yet it was your offense that sputtered. So
Okay.
I'm just like trying to wrap my brain around that. I mean, I get it. You lost the Super Bowl, a close defensive battle game, but you were in that game for the majority of the game, and you're firing your defensive. And maybe there was more to the whole story. I don't know, but
Right. Well, that is something that I have a couple of people in my life that are San Fran fans. One of them's on 806, and then one I know from the sports groups. And I just kind of wanted to ask their perspective because obviously it's your team, you're a coach that's getting let go. How do you feel about it? How do you feel like he performed this year? One of them said that he felt like it was premature, that there just wasn't enough time, but the defense did look out of whack the last 2 games of the season and then the first 2 games of the playoffs as well. So he didn't include the Super Bowl because I feel like they played really well. I mean, they had 3 sacks in that game, 3 big sacks, in that game. Hargrave coming over from Philly, that was a big pickup for San Francisco. Then they go and get Chase Young in the middle of the year. He got a sack in that game too. And then Armstead had one as well. So I'm not sure if the injury to Greenlaw is something that really kind of took the gas out of them, or if they were just physically exhausted by the time overtime hit. So which is a possibility. Now, the other person said that they thought that it needed to happen, that Wilkes was not aggressive enough all season. As we know, that's the type of intensity that is Kyle Shanahan, so I could see that possibly being a problem there. But personally, from the outside looking in, and not in a Cowboys hating type of fan way, but in just a football lover on the outside looking in, because it's not my team, I think that Kyle needs to separate himself a little bit. Like, he needs to have an offensive coordinator. We know you're an offensive genius. We know it. Now there are some question marks about what do you do with leads in the postseason. But we know how talented he is, how smart he is. Whereas, it's hard to say that if you could put somebody in that position and maybe take that stress away from having to do both jobs. You're not only the coordinator, but you're also the head coach. Maybe you delegate a little bit and you can be a little more productive. So that's kind of my thought on it. So let me read this.
I think the NFL is just proving that if you don't go all the way, no matter if you are a coach for one season or not, you could be done quickly. Like, the hook has gotten, I think, a lot shorter for all of the coaches.
Right, because this was Wilkes' first season with San Fran. We know they had to replace D'Amico Ryan. Obviously, Coach Ryan is hard to replace. Look at how well he's doing over there in Houston. Now, Jen is a fan of Wilkes, who's on the show as well. He had some years over there in Carolina, not only as a player, but as a coach. And a lot of people felt like he was let go prematurely, that he was given the interim job and that they just didn't stick with him. But if it keeps happening, there's got to be some type of, that old saying that where there's smoke, there might be a fire. So we shall see. We shall see what happens with him. Do we think he gets another job?
There's a lot of places open.
Defensive coordinators are needed. And who takes that? Who's the right person for the job in San Fran?
Well, Spags is not, because in Spags we trust, and he's coming back. So
right. Well, how nice. We had an inside job there in Dallas. No one can convince me otherwise. All right, Candy. Let's talk a little bit. Do you have your topic that you want to talk about? Is there something specific you want to talk about today?
Today is a tough day. I'm going to be honest, and Carrie, my thoughts go out to you and the Kansas City Nation. And I heard you guys talking about it a little bit earlier.
Right.
We actually had an active shooter in a mall here in Florida, about 25 miles from my house. And this is honestly, this is the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Parkland shooting was 6 years ago today, where we lost 17 17 kids, where someone, Nicholas Cruz went into a school and shot, not the football coach. And it's just been horrible. So it's just been kind of a stressful day. And then to hear like these senseless shootings, like why people feel that they, if you're upset with the world, I get it. Like there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of things, but why hurt other people?
Right. Yeah.
And so, as I was thinking about all my different things to prepare for the show, and I could talk about the Bucks and how the Bucks hired Rivers and how they're not performing as well as they could be, or I can talk about, there's all kinds of plethora of things that, Green Bay and signing and not signing, but I really wanted, today's Valentine's Day, and today it should be about love. And why are we talking about shootings still in this country? I don't care if you're a proponent of gun laws or not. Like that's not the issue. The issue is people, because a gun doesn't shoot somebody. The actual issue is people and dealing with all this mental illness that we have going on in this country. And it just scares me. It really scares me that, and there's so many of them that we don't even hear about anymore.
Right.
Remember when that used to be a big thing?
Yes. And now it's like, I don't know. It's scary. Like, I don't know. So, I guess my mind is on that. And as much as I wanted to talk about other sports things or things, I'm like that takes a back seat. I guess. Where my heart.
Agree with you on that.
Well, and then, shout out. We've heard that some of the Chiefs players were, comforting the crowd and protecting kids and, a way to look beyond, the sport and in that moment, because like you said, it's about people.
Right.
So I'm reading a comment. Walter, so 9 of the 22 are children that were injured?
Well, I heard one was fatally shot.
Right, yeah.
Wow. Guys, I'm sorry. I am literally just feeding off what anybody else is telling me at this point, because like I said, I got in the car. I was telling Megan this. I got in the car. I put my phone away because I was driving, and I knew once I figured out when Jen sent that, it didn't set well in my brain, but I wanted to get out of Kansas City.
Right.
So until we got out of Kansas City, I didn't use my phone. And then she had, in the process had sent, there's been a shooting at the parade. And I'm like, what? So then I'm like, as we're trying to get food ordered, I'm sending messages, and I went on Facebook. I'm like, because people knew I was there. I'm like, we're safe.
Oh, yeah.
And then I put my phone away because I was the person to get us home safely. So my phone was in my armrest, because I'm like, I don't need that distraction. And so, but my mind is blown because there was so many kids there. Now, there's a lot of people drinking and a lot of alcohol and a lot of partying going on. So who knows what happened, but it breaks my heart to know it was children.
Right. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
We hear of these all the time, and I like a couple years ago, back in my hometown, back in Wisconsin, there was a shooting at a Christmas parade. Like a Christmas parade. And and like these people that are going into these schools, and it's sad because now here in Palm Beach County, they're putting up metal detectors in all of the schools.
Right.
And I'm like, how sad is that we have to do that in today's society as it is? When I moved down here to Florida, I was shocked because back when I was growing up, your schools were open. And not when I mean open, there weren't gates around the whole schoolyard, and you could go in, we could go play tennis on any of the courts anytime we wanted to, all of that. And now
we're seeing it spill over into the sporting events, kind of circling it back and bringing it back to sports. But, Oklahoma, there was a shooting this year at a high school football game. And then, in Texas, there was one too, or following a soccer game. So some parents got mad. And, the way it's overflowing into, our everyday lives, just trying to live, just trying to go to the parade and celebrate with my Super Bowl team type, like
trying
that's
to live
crazy.
your best life, and then we have people that died because they were living their best life.
That's crazy. And I had another topic completely ready to talk about, just like you said, Candy. And normally we end the show on a happy topic, but I think, we just talk about this and kind of leave it at that, and continue to say what we want to say about it. But I think we'll end the show on this topic because it just is. I don't even feel like I can switch over to another topic,
Sorry.
No.
I'm sitting here thinking, and it'll hit me. And so if I don't seem like this is phasing me, I literally have been up since 6 o'clock this morning and had only 5 hours of sleep. So I am just getting home. And the way I process things is I have to sit and be able to think it through and reflect. I'm sitting here thinking the amount of little kiddos from, like, there was one that could not have been more than a couple weeks old to, the entire range. Because I got to see parents passing their love of the sport onto their children. I got to see dads with their little girls. I got to see, little girls that were wearing Swiftie shirts, those, all these different things. And I'm like, how cool is this? You've got so many things. And for me, I fell in love with football because of my daddy. That was the time I got to spend with him when I was a little girl. So I love football because of my dad. Yeah. And seeing all of these children there that are not only in love with their dad, but you see families there. You saw a lot of families, and they're all celebrating for different reasons. You pick out the ones that were dressed in all the sequins, and those are probably the Swiftie. They were there because of Swiftie, and that's brilliant. That is wonderful.
Another crowd, yeah.
I mean, but the fact that there are children, girls and boys, that are watching football now because they know someone outside of football that is attached to a team.
Right.
And Simone Biles, that avenue. You've got all these different ones that if we could start harnessing that, the love is going to be built. But I just thinking about the children that I saw there. And, I have a teaching background. I had to go into lockdown to protect we went into lockdown because there was an active shooter near my school, and I taught 5th graders. And that was a hard thing to deal with. It would have been 2011, maybe 10. That happened. So I've been in the school with an active shooter in the area. And school's gone in lockdown. It hurts. It hurts to think that, goodness, we can't go somewhere and celebrate and share a common joy, or go somewhere where we feel safe. We're supposed to feel safe. It's mind-numbing and mind-boggling at the same time.
Well, it looks like we all had a lot to say about it, even those of y'all watching and commenting and sharing the show. We appreciate that.
We do.
Well, I think we ended there.
Yeah.
I think we're about love, and that's what
Nation, we're thinking about y'all.
That's what we want to give everybody, is tell everybody that we love you. And if you have issues and you have problems, contact us, and we'll help you find, whatever help you need.
And I can't tell you the humbling messages, not only, y'all, I've been humbled today. You don't know what your outreach is. You don't know whose life you have touched, or trigger a thought that, hey, I want to make sure you're okay.
Right.
I'm humbled.
Well, we're so glad that
we have a platform that we can share this. And I'm grateful for that you ladies brought me on and that we can share things like this.
Right.
Because it's important.
Well, and that was the premise of the start of the show, about talking about important topics, especially for women. But, this is bigger than that, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, guys. Well, we want to
thank you. Love to everyone out there.
Yeah, we want to thank you for watching and sharing and commenting on the show. I think we've all, like I said, we've all had our thoughts, and this is definitely on our minds. Chiefs Nation, we're thinking about y'all. We will see you back next week. I will be in Indianapolis, but you will see the other ladies next week.